Hello and welcome to the final whistle with me, Daniel Waterson, looking back at Hibs' 1-0 draw with Aberdeen at Easter Road. Coming up, James Delaney and I discuss the match, Neil Lennon speaks with Hibs TV, and we also have the post-match thoughts of Ryan Porteous and Stephen Whittaker. But first, a reminder of all the action with Hibs TV's Cliff Pike and Keith Reid.
The corner floated towards the back post. Mee nods it back in, chance for the Dons. Bogdan, he's managed to keep it out, but it's in the back of the net. And it looks like Tommy Hoban that got the final touch on it. Bogdan lost it, scooped it back, but he only scooped into the path of Tommy Hoban, who scrambled it over the line. And in the final minute of the first half, the Dons have the lead. Whittaker cuts inside, finds Horgan. Too much on that one, but he's done well to find Paul Hanlon. Chance here for Hibs! And Jamie McLaren! He didn't score against the Dons last season, but he has this one.
Exactly what I said, Cliff. He's going to pick up any scraps that might be created in the box. Excellent ball in, and it was Jamie McLaren right on the end of it. Hibs won, Aberdeen won. Bit of a scrap inside the 6-yard box there between Joe Lewis and Darryl Horgan. He wanted to get the play moving quickly, Darryl Horgan. Joe Lewis holding on to the ball. Andrew Dallas got involved in it, and he took the ball off them both, and they've both been sent to bed with no supper. Good finish from Jamie McLaren, exactly in the position that you'd expect him to be, Keith. Great ball across from Paul Hanlon as well, and Jamie McLaren at the back post to knock it in.
James, firstly an apology for making you sit through half an hour of top podcasting last week, only for me to realise that the battery had died on the recorder. So
I just, I think we've deprived the listeners of so many top guests. The bit where we had Frank Soze came back and he did his little bit. We had
Russell Latapy phoning in was a good moment.
That was a great moment. We had, there was so
we announced those 3 signings as well.
We did announce those 3 signings. Obviously couldn't play today. You got that little transfer gossip. We sang that duet with Neil Lennon. Gary Parker read some of his poetry. It was just it was a nice episode. It's a shame that nobody gets to hear it.
Yeah, and it's lost forever, but we'll never try anything that experimental again.
No, that was really a once in a lifetime opportunity.
So looking at today, a late equaliser from Jamie McLaren means it's a point for Hibs. Happy with the point?
I think it's probably a pretty fair reflection on the game. It feels like we've said this a lot over the past couple of matches, but I really don't think there was a lot between those two sides there. Aberdeen, you can say sort of perhaps slightly fortuitously ahead. Adam Bogdan probably should have had it, and it does end up sort of just squirming over the line, and I think Hoban eventually sort of pokes it in. But you got to say, sort of, I suppose, on the balance of play in that, over the 90 minutes, both sides probably created enough to merit a 1-1 draw. It felt there was a real sense of sort of deja vu from the 1-0 game against Aberdeen here last season, where they won 1-0 and we just couldn't score. It felt like that. Now we were going to play all night and not score, and this felt similar, but obviously having a player like Jamie McLaren take him off the bench and grab a goal right at the end is always good, and that'll do his confidence the world of good as well to get his name on the score sheet. I think it was virtually his first touch that he scores with as well. It's good for him. It's a good point to get, and it's on to Livingston next week.
Yeah, it was sort of verging on farcical's maybe harsh, but that the last half an hour, 35 minutes, Aberdeen were playing literally a flat back 6 with Graham Shinnie tucked right in front of it.
Which is a defensive formation, to put it mildly. I think
it was so defensive that I think if Craig Levine was sitting in the stand today, he would have went, "Come on, lads, sitting a bit deep here. Like, come on."
Yeah, it was an unbelievable second half that Aberdeen actually started really well for the first 5-10 minutes, looked like they were going to score, and then just did nothing for the next 35 minutes. And it was like a siege at times of us bearing down on goal. We had plenty of it felt again a lot like last season in that we got right up to the edge of the box a lot of times, and then for whatever reason just decided to pass the ball around instead of going for goal. You were really looking for the likes of Stevie Malin and Darryl Horgan, both of whom have shown plenty of ability from range to go and have a go. For whatever reason it just didn't quite happen. But I think we probably did enough to get a point today. They certainly did enough to score, and Ironically, sort of the goal comes from Horgan taking a poor touch and getting the ball through to Paul Hanlon, who puts it across goal, and McLaren's there to finish. It's exactly what he did the second half of last season, just playing the width of the posts. It's a good point to get this early in the season in what's probably our toughest game, or what is definitely our toughest game in the opening sort of fixtures. It's another game where I thought we defended okay, given sort of how poorly we defended last week, albeit we lose the goal, but there was an element of fortune to it. We restricted Aberdeen to a few half decent chances.
From distance.
I don't think you can say that they had one clear cut chance that they really should have scored. I think all in all a good point.
Okay, so kind of take it back to the start. 3 changes from the team that beat Ross County last week. In come Bogdan, Whittaker and Hanlon for Laidlaw, Hyndman and Scott Martin. Right from the off, big moment, first of many big decisions for Andrew Dallas. Paul Hanlon hits a cross come shot, Lewis fumbles it, Martin Boyle looks to me like he's pushed over, and all I'll say is I've seen them given.
Yeah, it's one that I'd definitely like to see back. I must admit I actually only saw Boyle go down. I missed the actual contact, but seeing sort of part of the replay back, you're right, it's one of those where in the past you've probably seen those sort of decisions given, particularly I think it's one of those where that early in the game, if Andrew Dallas blows for a controversial penalty, does he then sort of blow for different decisions in the first half? I mean, admittedly I don't think he had his best game today, to be honest. There's a couple of things I thought he was pretty inconsistent in his decision making. Is
this the biggest test of our professionalism so far?
Well, yeah, I mean it was an inconsistent performance today from Mr. Dallas, but I'd like to see it back. Obviously my instinct says definite penalty, red card, just award us the 3 points, but I'd like to see it back. It's certainly, you're right, you've seen them given from the viewing that I've had of it, I probably would have said penalty.
Yep, and then the first 20 minutes Hibs were dominant. They were playing. Daryl Horgan looked really lively, he was getting a lot of space in the edge of the box. He has the first really big chance of the game, a good run, good shot, even better save from Joe Lewis. Does really well to tip it over the crossbar. Yeah, I
thought Horgan and Boyle, particularly in sort of the opening exchanges, looked really lively and were causing Aberdeen a lot of problems. Martin Boyle had a really good run where he shrugged off a couple of challenges in midfield and shot wide, and that Horgan one he actually does really well to get it under control, because I think Stevenson's pass, I think it is, from the left, it looks like it's gone slightly behind him and he almost has to readjust his body to actually get it under control. I thought it was going right in the top corner, but it's a really good save by Joe Lewis, who I think had a bit of shaky start. He had a couple of, he kind of sort of fumbled, but he looked a little bit under pressure, and obviously he fumbles that one from Hanlon leading up to the penalty appeal.
So I think after Aberdeen, like you said there, Lewis was a bit shaky. I thought the defence in general was a bit, not poor, but the Hibs were kind of causing them problems going forward. They settled into the game, and then it kind of, the chances became sort of few and far between beyond that. Boyle's running shot, you've already mentioned. Lewis Ferguson gets Aberdeen's first shot on target away. It looked like he was going to wrong foot Bogdan, but Bogdan adjusted really well and done well to save it.
Yeah, I've been impressed with Lewis Ferguson. I was impressed with him last season when he was at Hamilton as well. He had a couple of really good games. Obviously the goal he scores against Burnley in the Europa League is absolutely incredible. But yeah, that one is sort of, he's on the turn as well, so he's back to goal. He doesn't necessarily know where the goal is. It looks like it's going right in the corner, and Bogdan, I think you can tell by the way that he saves it and the way that he has to sort of readjust his body. He obviously sees it a little bit late, but it is a good save. And I think he'd had one sort of just before that where sort of a looping header from Stevie May from a corner. There's a couple sort of rushing in at the back post, and he comes and claims that as well. So yeah, a couple of decent saves for him. Admittedly, I thought he possibly should have done a little bit better with the goal.
More from James and I shortly, but let's hear from Neil Lennon speaking with Hibs TV.
Neil, I suspect that's a game where a point was the least we deserved for our efforts.
Yeah, I think you're very correct with that question, and I'm disappointed for the players that we haven't won the game. I thought we played excellently against a very good side. We totally dominated the second half. We could have been 1 or 2 up before their goal, and I'm really disappointed with the goal from our point of view, because I've emphasised ad nauseum how strong Aberdeen were at set players, and we've not switched off, but look, there's times you don't win the first header, you've got to win the second one, and we've been ball watching. So the goal down at half time was thoroughly undeserved, but a lesson, this is a tough environment. Second half we were very good. We just lacked a bit of punch in the final third, but we got what we deserved. It's the least we deserved, and it was a great goal to get back into the game.
We'd said in commentary that Aberdeen, Hearts, Rangers, Celtic, Jamie McLaren scored against them all last season. Apart from Aberdeen, he made up for it today.
Yeah, listen, he's been a bit undercooked. We know he's a little bit short. And the way we were on top of the game, you're thinking, well, don't want to make a change just yet. And then we decided, obviously, as the half wore on, to get Jamie on and Emerson, just a little bit of impetus, because we just need that bit of creativity or that sniffer. And that's what Jamie does, and he does it very well. I thought Emerson made a fine contribution when he came on as well. So all in all, I've got to be happy with the overall performance, but disappointed with the draw.
Frustrating, as you said, the goal that we lost, because I thought in the first half we were always the team on the front foot. Martin Boyle had brought a couple of great saves out of Joe Lewis, but at the end of the day, if you switch off, sometimes you can be punished for it.
Yeah, but it's basics, Cliff. You got to live and die off set plays, and it was the last thing I said, and going out before the game. So, especially 30 seconds before half time, I don't know why we switch off. It's a floaty, nondescript ball. Effie maybe could have got there. It feels as if he couldn't. But then the second one, we should deal with that. We've got enough in the box to deal with that.
I guess the one thing that you must take great heart from is that you always get that effort from your team. And in the second half, as you say, they came out and they did everything you needed them to do.
Not just effort, quality. I thought we played some great football. I thought we deserved better. Our shooting was a bit off, just that last minute, maybe off balance or lashing at things. And we probably didn't get in behind them as much as I'd like, but in the end we did. And Paul's put a great ball in, and Jimmy's there. Darryl did great as well for the goal. I need to look at the second half again in terms of chances, so I think with 17 attempts at goal, that's pretty healthy against an Aberdeen side, and certainly in terms of dominating the game, we certainly did that for long periods.
There wasn't much between the two sides last season, and that there today shows that that's probably likely to be the same again this season.
Yeah, I would imagine so. We're both on 5 points at the minute, albeit Derek has had Rangers in there. I don't want us, I want us to start turning the performances into wins, because that's what cost us last year in the first half of the season. So, we missed Canberra today in that physical presence. Just, Ollie and Boyler did fine, but against a big, strong physical team, Canberra is obviously an asset to us, and it sort of changes the way you want to play a little bit. But we're going okay. The performances have been good.
And as usual, you'll be sick of hearing this. The transfer window edging towards a close. Is there still possibilities of movement?
I would imagine so, yeah. Maybe one in or two in, and a couple going out. So we'll see how this week develops.
So yeah, we've discussed kind of a controversial decision where Hibs probably should have got a penalty. Even before Aberdeen's penalty appeal, there was just some baffling decisions going on all over the pitch. The one where Lewis Stevenson wins the ball clearly. Everyone thinks the referee's given a free kick, so the Hibs fans are irate. It then turns out the referee's pointing at the ball to show that Lewis Stevenson won the ball, and the game plays on after everyone stopped, and that then sends the Aberdeen fans irate. I digress. Aberdeen then get the penalty shout. To me, without seeing it back, I immediately thought Stonewall penalty. Yeah. And nothing given.
Yeah, I mean, it could be something that I'm watching Hibs TV back a bit later tonight, and I'll be completely wrong about this, but I didn't see the Martin Boyle contact. I saw the contact on that one, and to be honest, I think we got away with one. It looks like a Stonewall penalty, and I think given the ballistic reaction of the Aberdeen players, it certainly seems to suggest to me that there was enough contact there. I mean, I've already said that it wasn't Andrew Dallas's best game today.
I think Neil Lennon said it himself in regards to decisions that have maybe gone against us previously, that he can tell a lot from players' reactions in these situations. And yeah, the Hibs fans are muted, and Graham Shinnie, and especially Shinnie, and the Aberdeen teams just seem utterly bewildered at that not being given.
They seemed absolutely irate, and I mean, it looked I mean, obviously, we are seeing it at exactly the same time as the referee's seeing it, and we're not getting an instant replay necessarily, but you can't really sort of put yourself in the referee's shoes because it's a different atmosphere, it's a completely different mindset to be in. But you kind of think, if that is a penalty, then how has he missed it? Not only how has he missed it, but how has he missed it and the official on the other side missed it?
I mean, the goal itself, it's the game's kind of fizzling out into half time. It looks like both teams are kind of needing a break and maybe a change, but this corner comes in. It is Hoban that scores it. We were told it's Frank Ross, but it was Hoban, and it's his header. Bogdan, I thought, initially done well to block it. He then gets himself into a bit of a muddle.
It's almost as if he blocks it and then lands on the ball and he's not 100% sure where the ball is.
He gets disorientated. I mean, somebody should be helping him out, I feel, but at the same time also he should be clearing his lines. So it kind of bobbles and fumbles about for a couple of seconds, and Hoban is just left with the easiest task to tap it in.
Yeah, and it is, he just completely loses where the ball is. You don't know if it's just sort of caught underneath his body and then it's kind of it squirms away from him. He does make an attempt to claw it back off the line, but I think you kind of be expecting a goalkeeper of Adam Bogdan's experience to really be holding that. Maybe on second viewing you go, well, actually it's a good save and he's just unlucky with the rebound, but I'm sure he'll know himself, he'll be disappointed that he couldn't keep that one out.
Yeah, so the goal is, I think, near enough the last kick of the half. It obviously kind of tears up any game plan that was in the dressing room at half time. The second half starts. We said at half time on Hibs TV that we foreseen a carbon copy of the 1-0 game in November last season, where Aberdeen, especially considering that they don't seem to have much going up top at the moment, albeit they've just brought in Wilson from Man United, so it was no surprise to see them sit deep and try and see it out. But I mean, there's deep, and we've already said that there's deep and then there's deep. Were you surprised at how quickly and just how many men they had sitting back pretty much from the off in the second half?
Oh, it was unbelievable. I mean, Joe Lewis was virtually dodging traffic on the Queensferry Cross and he was that deep. It was, I mean, I think you can kind of see from Derek McInnes' point of view, if they aren't enough of a threat going forward, you go 1-0 up, you do just automatically drop deep. You do just try and see the game out, and defensively I actually thought Aberdeen looked quite solid today, particularly in that second half. Admittedly, you're right in saying they were playing with a flat back six, and I think in any situation it's going to be difficult for a team to break through that, especially with the likes of Graham Shinney sitting in front of them, who obviously gives them a bit more of a physical presence in midfield. On the flip side of that, for a side that's got the likes of Gary Mackay-Stephen going forward, Stevie May admittedly hasn't quite hit the heights that is perhaps expected to or perhaps hoping to, but he's still got plenty of talent. You've got the likes of James Wilson on the bench, and Niall McGinn's on the bench as well. I don't think came on at all today. There's plenty of attacking talent in the Aberdeen team. There's plenty to suggest that they could have gone forward and been a threat going forward. So it was a little bit surprising to see how deep they were sitting, but I think it played into our hands a little bit because it allowed us to go forward and to actually attack and show Aberdeen what we've got, and in the end that eventually forces the goal. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, it's half chances that Hibs kind of make up until the goal itself, but there was a moment about an hour in that I've got noted here that any time Aberdeen rarely kind of get into a box, you could see this gaping Marvin Bartley, Mark Milligan hole in the midfield as legs were tired and play was getting stretched. So they possibly could have done more to kind of keep the game open. Fair play if that's how they want to play it, sitting back, but you can see maybe how on paper what a vital acquisition Mark Milligan's going to be.
Yeah, and I think it speaks volumes about Marvin Bartley's impact in a Hibs shirt that's no longer the Matty Jack role. It's the Marvin Bartley role. But it was like being back on the East Terracing again today. It was we're wondering who's going to play the Matty Jack role to bring that phrase back. But yeah, I mean, Mark Milligan is a guy with 70 international caps. He's a guy who's played at the World Cup in the summer. He's a guy with plenty of experience, hundreds of club games, and a lot of different places across the world. So in theory it should be a good signing, but it's like anything, you just have to wait and see what he's like when he gets on the pitch. Obviously his move being held up a little bit at the moment by acquiring a visa, but Thomas Akipong's did eventually come through, so hopefully Mark Milligan's will be through for Livingston next week, and that could be a good game for him to come in and show what he's got on what is not the best surface in Scotland, to put it mildly.
So just even going over chances, it's all half chances. I think Whittaker had one over the bar after good play from Boyle. There was bookings being picked up kind of here, there and everywhere. Boyle had an effort himself over the bar. Hibs make their first change. Lewis Stevenson comes off for Jamie McLaren. Would you have made the change earlier? It seemed fairly late on.
Yeah, I mean, I think given how deep Aberdeen were sitting and how far back they were willing to go, probably was just a little bit too long to wait to get that change made. Obviously with the pedigree that Jamie McLaren brings and the goal threat that he brings, he's always going to be dangerous going forward like that. Obviously, I think it's been a difficult start to the season for him because he's effectively arrived at Hibs without really having a full pre-season, when the rest of the squad has had a full pre-season and has been playing games in Europe. So obviously, coming back into the team and just getting 10-20 minutes here or there is going to be beneficial. Similarly, getting a goal is going to be beneficial as well. We've still got Flo Canberry to come back fully fit, so I'm fully confident in scoring Jamie McLaren, and a fully fit Flo Canberry is a handful for any defence in this division. But it's, I suppose, from Neil Lennon's point of view, it's about easing Jamie back into the side and easing him back into play 90 minutes. I think his interview after he signed, he mentioned that his only pre-season had been playing 60-minute games with Darmstadt at their training camp, which obviously is nothing like playing in the Europa League or playing in the Premiership, or playing in any 90 minutes really. So it is going to take him a little bit longer to get fully up to speed, but scoring goals, getting minutes on the pitch all helps that, and he's done both today.
Yeah, so he comes on. Ollie Shaw has an effort from outside the box that deflects wide. The next change is made as Emerson Hyman comes on for David Gray. At this point, you lose track of what either side's. It's just 11 defenders against 11 attackers. So you've already said Darryl Horgan. It's a great through ball. What do you call, if you've got a back six and Gary Mackay, is he the right or right back or is he just the right back? The rightest back. So the pass is great, gets in beyond him. Paul Hanlon has time and space, picks out Jamie McLaren perfectly, and that is exactly what we want from Jamie McLaren.
It's the same goal that Jamie McLaren scored a handful of times last season, is playing between the posts, a ball being fired across goal and him touching it in. It must have been virtually his first touch when he came on. I think like I say, it's good for his confidence and good for his or good for him going forward to get back amongst the goals. It's another goal scorer this season. We've had just about every goal's been scored by a different player so far for us. I think Ollie Shaw the only one who's got more than one goal in the league?
In the league, it will be,
It's good from our point of view, and it's good for Jamie's point of view, and obviously rescued a point for us. It is. I mean, I thought Horgan today, again, similar with McLaren, but maybe not quite to the same extent. He just needs minutes on the pitch and time to get up to the speed of the game. I thought him and Boyle looked a real threat in the opening part of the first half. He had a quieter second half, but every time he got on the ball, he was always looking to make something happen.
I think we've seen enough in between last week and this week to know that Horgan looks more than a decent acquisition.
He's going to be a very good acquisition. And I suppose, I think we spoke about it last week, is the irony of him coming here is that Brandon Barker goes to Preston, which frees him up to come here. It's obviously not a like for like replacement. I think Horgan looks busier and he looks like a sort of a harder worker than Brandon Barker. That's no sort of slant to Brandon at all. It's just that he's a different type of player. He was kicked up and down the pitch at times today, similar with Martin Boyle, who managed to get two players booked for the same challenge on him, which was amazing in the second half. But yeah, I mean, he's going to make things happen. He's going to be the guy who, like today when we're trying to break down 6 or 7 man defences, is going to force the issue a little bit. The fact that he's willing to get there, and I think he gets smashed as soon as he gets to the ball and get that touch into Paul Hanlon, who's playing whatever marauding defending role that he is fantastic for us. It's a good ball across goal, and Shaw misses it, but McLaren's in there at the back post to touch it in, and if that's going to be the way we get our goals this season, then fair enough. It looks like we've got the talent to do that.
And now here's the post-match thoughts of Stephen Whittaker talking to Cliff.
Stephen, games against Aberdeen always likely to be tough scraps. Today was no different.
Yeah, we know what we're kind of going to get for Aberdeen. You know, they're organised, they're a big side, so it's important that you kind of compete with that side of it first. But I thought, you know, football took over in the end. I thought we dominated possession, created a few chances, and you know, couldn't get our noses in front and fell behind, but managed to get something out of the game in the end, which we were all, you know, I think that was the least we deserved.
Was there disappointment at half time? In my opinion, I thought we were well on top in that first half. To go in 1-0 down wasn't a fair reflection.
Yeah, right at the end of the half as well. It's never ideal to kind of lose goals then. So you know, we're disappointed for losing at the set play. You know, we worked on that. We thought that was one of their main strengths, and you know, to fall at that side of it was disappointing. But you know, we gathered ourselves at half time and got ready for the second half and came out fighting and trying to get something from the game, which we did.
From your own point of view, you were playing that midfield role today. You look like you quite relished it.
Yeah, I don't mind it in there. It's a different side of the game again. Just you know, trying to adapt the best you can. Use the ball when you kind of get it. You know, I've been around and played a few games, so it's just a matter of fitting in and doing my bit for the team.
I think the key was when you had possession, you were always trying to push the ball forward and get the team moving forward on the front foot.
Yeah, I think that's what the manager stresses when I play in there, is to try and, you know, get the ball switched when I can. Yeah, use the ball and keep possession. Just keep the momentum of the side going forward. We've got great attacking, you know, players up there now, so it's just a matter of trying to find them in the space and get them on the ball.
Last season there wasn't an awful lot between Hibs and Aberdeen. On the basis of that game today, would you think that might be the same again this season?
Yeah, I think we'll both, you know, be aiming to be as high at the league as possible. You know, they finished second the last few years, so it's important that we, you know, maintain our form going through this early start of the season. You know, we feel like we've maybe dropped a couple of points already, so yeah, we feel like we're playing well, but you know, the results and the points tally needs to come along with it.
I think obviously we'd have preferred to have still been involved in the Europa League, but with not being involved in it this week, it's given the guys a wee bit of a chance to recharge the batteries and do some work on the training field.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they were competitive games, so it was a good way to, you know, even prepare for the season. Good quality games. We loved kind of travelling and being involved and trying to progress as much as we can. You know, I thought we obviously done well beating the Greek side, and then you know, just falling short a little bit against Molde, but it was great preparation, great experience for some of the guys, and hopefully that's prepared us for the season ahead, and it's just about kind of trying to hit the ground running now.
And we move on next week to an away game against Livingston. It's never an easy place to go either.
Yeah, obviously there's been a bit of talk about the pitch, so you know, that's something we'll have to adapt to. Newly promoted side, you know, they'll be fighting for their lives for every point, so there's no easy games. You know, we need to approach it in the right way, and hopefully we'll have enough on the day to take the points.
There's a little break in play before kick-off to resume the game. Hibs have a kind of little mini huddle, little team talk. With the way the sides are lined up, you're just expecting momentum in the crowd to just draw Hibs towards that Aberdeen goal for the last, I think it's 4 minutes plus stoppage time, whatever it is. Aberdeen brings Sam Cosgrove on, and yet momentum seemed to swing back towards the Aberdeen, which sums up what an unpredictable game football is, I suppose.
It was a bit weird. I think it was one of those where we'd spent so long trying to get back into the game that, you know, I think the board goes up just as we're all running back to take kick-off. So it's probably one of those where the last 4 minutes we got our point and say we'd be contented with that, but given how much we put into the second half and getting that goal back,
players were just taking one for the team all over the place.
There's plenty of I think there were more bookings in the last 4 minutes than there were in the rest of the game, to be honest. I mean, Martin Boyle, God knows how he kept getting up, because he was just getting kicked up and down. Ryan Porteous did what Ryan Porteous always does and just took bodies. You know, it was one of those where, I mean, even though the momentum did swing back in Aberdeen's favour, you never really sort of thought they were going to score, to be honest. I think once we got that goal back, it was pretty clear that it was going to finish 1-1, and yeah, like I said,
did you even feel that way at the free kick at the end?
Yeah, I think so.
No,
I think enough players back.
terrible delivery from Mackay Steven.
It was not a great, but I think he was probably still.
It was a great tackle. There was a brilliant compilation GIF put together of Ryan Porteous challenges this week that I've seen, and that could just be added on to the end of them.
I mean, Ryan Porteous he must be close to a suspension already, because I think he's been booked in just about every league game that we've had. So, but I mean, I'd rather he was absolutely flying into tackles and at the very least, taking something from the man, if not the ball, than shying away from them. And obviously we talk about sort of what a talent he is, but again today I thought he looked very measured. I thought he looked good, and it's come to the point now where you expect him to be in the starting 11, which is fantastic news for us. And so he gets his inclusion in the Scotland under 21 squad the week after next against Andorra at Tynecastle. So just another opportunity to see him smash people in a different language.
I like that he obviously does that tackle on Mackay Steven. Mackay Steven's reacted. It's been pointed out after the game that it looks like his reaction, it sounds like his reaction maybe merited a red and not a yellow. I'll need to see it back. I can't say I've missed something there then, but the final whistle goes right after Mackay Steven's free kick is cleared, and Mackay Steven and Porteous are best bezies as soon as the final whistle goes.
It's like sort of Rocky and Apollo Creed. It's just I think what happens in the 90 minutes and what happens out with that are a bit different. I don't think Ryan Porteous is going to come out and say he's enjoying watching Mackay Steven weeping.
Yep, so next up it's the trip to Livingston. We talked about it at half time, how they got a great result against St Mirren today. They've obviously a little bit of managerial upheaval. That pitch has been a huge, although Kilmarnock's pitch has been the talking point all week. There was a lot being said about the Livy pitch, ironically, when they played Killie a couple of weeks ago. So it's going to be on paper it looks like it should be a comfortable away win, but we know it's not going to be as straightforward as that.
No, it's going to be tough. There aren't really any easy games in this division at all. Livingston, despite sort of the upheaval they've gone through over the past week, are still a good side. They showed that today, 2-0 win against the St Mirren team that won the league they were in last season. So you can't go there expecting an easy 3 points. Gary Holt's got form for giving us a bit of a scare in his first match as manager.
Falkirk,
so in the end we end up coming through that, but I'm not sure if my heart can take another thing like that again, to be honest, because that was a bit of a long day. He's certainly, I don't think he was on the touchline today, but he's certainly started, or his influence on the squad has certainly been pretty quickly felt. So it'll be an interesting contest. Obviously the pitch is going to be a factor. It might just be that it could have done with being worn down a little bit before it starts sort of acting like a normal pitch, if you like. But I imagine it'll be a big travelling support. It's not a long way to go. There'll be plenty of tickets sold. It usually is at Livingston. I remember a game a few years ago, I think last time they were in the top flight there, where we had about 5,000 or 6,000 through at Almond Vale, and it felt like a home game. So I'm sure the fans will travel in numbers again, get right behind the team, and it's a good chance to go into the international break on a high.
I need to remember that Livingston North and South are not anywhere near the stadium next week. I need somebody to pick me up.
If you are passing by Livingston next week and you do want to pick, to give Daniel Waterson a lift to the game, you may feature on this podcast.
Yeah,
can you open that into a competition?
I can give a shout out to anyone who wants to pick me up and drop me off. You can choose either Livingston North or South. It's entirely up to you.
Do we get some free Italian food at the Tony Macaroni Arena? I hope so.
I'll get you some garlic bread.
A macaroni pie?
They must do macaroni pies.
If they don't, I'll be extremely disappointed.
You cannot. I mean, that's a marketing opportunity if you don't have a Tony Macaroni pie at the Tony Macaroni Arena.
If an advert to listen again next week and find out if they did have macaroni pies, I don't know what is.
And now we can hear from Ryan Porteous speaking after the game.
Ryan, seems to be a weekly occurrence now that we speak to you for Hibs TV. Another tough encounter out there. Did you think a draw was the fair result?
Definitely. I think that it all boils down to defending set plays. We didn't defend them good enough today. The gaffer said it before the game. We've got 11 die off set plays in both boxes, and today, even attacking, we had loads of corners, great deliveries, and we weren't getting on at the end of things. And then at the other time, at the other side of the pitch, they put one just like identical to that, the one before. We never dealt with it, so we've got to learn for that and be more organised and more structured and take that on next week.
How disappointed were the lads at half time? We've been the better side for me in the first half, and we lose a goal at a crucial time.
Definitely. The gaffer said to us, he goes, listen, if we never conceded that goal, what would they be saying? We've been playing well, we've limited them to probably one shot for the edge of the box. Darryl's had a good shot saved, Boyle's been in a couple of times, a penalty claim or not, I didn't see it too well, but listen, I thought we played well, we moved the ball good. It was a kind of new shape for us today, but I thought we'd done well, and the new boys as well, like Darryl's just walked into the team like he's been there for years, so credit to him and credit to the boys as well.
You mentioned that shot from the edge of the box. Lewis Ferguson, Adam Bogdan looked as though he'd been wrong footed, and he did really well to get back and turn it around the post.
Definitely, Bogdan showed that he's got real quality now. It was a shaky start to the season, but that obviously had a long-term injury, so that's going to happen, but he showed now he's pulled us out. He's pulled us out a lot of sticky situations, and we're fortunate to have him back in the sticks. And there was a couple of times he came for crossing. He's done really well, so it's good to have that behind you.
It's really encouraging for central defenders when your goalkeeper does come and take crosses and takes the pressure off you.
Even when we never defended the corner, he saved the first one. He had no right to save it, and he was just unfortunate that it kind of slipped out his hand. So it's brilliant when you've got a keeper that can come like that. Even Big Roscoe and Offie as well. We've got a handful of great keepers. So.
One thing we know about this side though, Ryan, is that even when we go a goal behind, nobody's thinking that's it, the game's lost. We go out there, we get back on the front foot, and we got the deserved reward with Jamie McLaren's goal. I
definitely think we needed to be a bit more patient when they had it on the edge of the box. I think we were all getting quite frantic and trying to get shots off when they weren't on and crosses in when we weren't quite set. But with that bit of quality from Darryl and Paul and Jamie McLaren, that's his bread and butter, and that's where you rely on him to be, and he's done it once again for us. So you can't really teach that from him, but he's a great player for us, and he's just showed his quality once again.
It was a sort of game where yourself, Paul and Effie probably found yourselves in the Aberdeen half a lot more than you might have expected to.
Definitely. The manager says that if there's one striker, he really wants us to step in and go and join him, because when you've got the likes of Paul and Effie that can play like that, Effie can start an attack from the edge of his own box when he's on his day. So now you've got to make the most of that, and I thought Wits and Steve in the middle were brilliant. So I think it was a good day overall. We're unfortunate not to get the win, but it all boiled down to just a set play.
And I know from your point of view, we've discussed this before, your admiration for Darren McGregor, but you're in that side now, you're doing everything the manager's asking of you, you're giving him a headache.
As I said, I just wanted to be ready for when I was called upon, and hopefully I've given him a bit of food for thought. But Darren's one of the best defenders in the league, and the quicker we can get him back, and the quicker we get back into the centre of the defence, the better. Livingston away next week, artificial surface. What's your take on artificial pitches? I've grew up playing on them. I like playing on them, so I don't think it's a problem for any of the boys out there. So we look forward to it. And that's a game that we'll again go through there, look to take the game to them and come away with the 3 points. Definitely. We're a good enough side to take the game to any team. So we'll go over there with confidence, but we'll give them some respect, because we know they're a good team. They've got some good quality players, so it'll be a tough one.
So that'll do us for this week's episode. The extended highlights from Saturday's match are now available, with the rest of this season's games as well as a huge archive of other classics also on Hibs TV. Next up for us is a trip to the Tony Macaroni Arena on Saturday to face Livingston. I will resist the urge to do all the usual puns and just let you know that tickets are available on general sale, and there's live commentary available for all Hibs TV subscribers. Until the next time, my thanks to James Delaney as always for joining me. Massive thank you for listening, and join us next time on The Final Whistle.